Hey guys, welcome to Best Movie Recap. Today I am going to explain a 2004 American action movie called The Punisher. Warning. Spoilers ahead, watch out and take care. Today's movie starts in Tampa, Florida. Mickey leads the young Bobby Saint to an arms deal brokered by a man named Otto Krieg, who speaks with an accent due to his knowledge of 6 languages. The exchange goes bad when the FBI suddenly burst into the scene. An agitated Otto pulls out a gun, then the police fire back, killing everyone except the cowardly Mickey, who is terrified when he sees Bobby's body. The bodies are taken away, but Otto Krieg stands up unharmed and speaks with an unaccented voice that he hated the undercover jobs he's always been taking. Otto Krieg is really revealed to be Frank Castle, an FBI agent who is just retiring. This case had been his last, and he was upset at the death of the young man. After that, the police discover that the young man is Robert Saint, son of the crime lord Howard Saint. When the news reaches the Saint family, the second son Johnny orders Mickey to be bailed out. Mickey is taken by the Saints to a club and beaten. He explains to Quentin Glass that Robert Bobby Saint came of his free will and that Otto Krieg, the man responsible for the deal, is dead too. Howard is still unsatisfied and kills another man who was supposed to be responsible for the protection of his son in front of Mickey. Meanwhile, Frank returns to his lovely wife Maria and young son. Frank knows he has been neglecting them and forcing them to move constantly, but he promises London would be the last place to move to. But before that, they will go to a family reunion in Puerto Rico. On the other side, Howard Saint goes to confirm his son's body, and when the police proved unwilling to share information with him, he orders his own men to find out everything about Otto Krieg. At the funeral of his son, Quentin informs Howard that Otto Krieg was a fake and that his real name is Frank Castle. Howard orders to kill him, but his wife Livia adds that the whole family must also die. Howard agrees while Johnny decides to go to Puerto Rico with the other assassins. The assassins arrive just in time for another family outdoor beach party. Frank had gone inside with his father to look at some guns, but they hear the gunshots. Though they fire back, but they are unable to rescue anyone. The assassins completely slaughter the family. Maria and her son manage to escape onto a car and drive away, and the assassins eventually catch up and run them over. Frank, distracted by a knife fight, arrives too late and only sees their bodies. The assassins return and Johnny beats and shoots Frank himself, telling him my father and mother send their regards. Quentin then torches the place, and they leave Frank for dead, not knowing that the explosion actually blasted Frank into the water. They return to the Saints and Sinners Club, where they celebrate their revenge, and Howard gives Livia a pair of diamond earrings to celebrate. Going back to the shore, Candelaria, one of the Castle family's friends, rescues Frank, and after recovering he takes him back to the Castle house. Frank picks up the guns his father had been showing him, as well as the t-shirt with a skull that his son had given him. Filled with anger, he is determined to have revenge and returns to America. He moves to a poor rundown neighborhood where he starts modifying guns, the apartment he lives in, and his car. Frank's actions catch the interest of his neighbors, the opera-loving Bumpo, the piercing-covered Spacker Dave, and the tired lovely Joan. In the night, Frank kidnaps Mickey and threatens to burn him if he does not tell him about the Saints. In the beginning, Mickey refuses, but Frank fakes the torture using an ice pop and Mickey starts screaming, which badly frightens Frank's neighbors. Mickey eventually gives in, telling him that Howard Saint relies on 2 Cuban brothers who control all gambling and prostitution up and down the Gulf Coast. They give the money to Howard, who transports it to his banks in Grand Canyon and washes it. Frank releases Mickey, who discovers he was never really hurt and freely talks about the Saints whom he claims he hates. With the information about the family's schedule and their closest friend Quentin Glass, Frank starts following them and taking photos. He learns about Howard's golf schedule, Livia's movie nights, and Quentin's secret life. Afterward, he drags his own gravestone out of the graveyard and plants it in Howard's golfing spot with the date of death removed. After that, Frank confronts his former police inmates in front of several reporters, asking why nobody was arrested for his family's death. Learning that the police were too afraid of taking the Saints head-on, Frank takes matters into his own hands. He sneaks into the Saints Bank building and orders the bankers by gunpoint to fill up a suitcase with money. The rest of it, he throws out the window, which draws in a noisy crowd trying to catch the money. Frank confronts two of Howard's hitmen and kills them, then he escapes easily into the crowd. When the news spread, Spacker and Bumpel look up Frank's information and are instantly wary. Meanwhile, Howard is furious at the news and receives a warning from the Cuban brothers that if they lose more money they were switching bankers. Back in Frank's apartment, a drunk man bangs on Joan's door demanding to be let in. Bumpo and Spacker are scared, but Frank interferes and punches the drunk man several times and scares him away, and the neighbors thank him for his help. Setting his revenge in motion, Frank breaks into Livia's car and calls Quentin on her phone, threatening him to go to the Winton Hotel to get some photos Mr. Saint would not want to see. He parks Livia's car illegally near the same hotel and gets a ticket for it. Howard, looking for Quentin and failing, is told by Mickey that the man was at Winton Hotel. He later spots Livia and Quentin talking and laughing together and leaves slightly unnerved. The next day, as Frank eats at the cafe Joan works at, a man comes in and starts playing a song for him. Harry Heck tells Frank the song will be played at his funeral. Taking the hint, Frank leaves the cafe. While driving he got surprised by Harry, who cornered his car and tried to shoot him, but Frank had already put some armor in the Windows car, then he escaped. A car chase followed and Frank had a terrible accident while trying to avoid a little girl, then Harry catches him, but before shooting him Frank grabs a knife and uses it to kill Harry. After that, he visits his friend Jimmy in the police station. While talking he noticed that Jimmy is no longer wearing the watch he gives it to him, and at this moment he starts suspecting that Jimmy was the one who betrayed him. Later on that night, Frank goes to the next shipment of cash Saints is holding. Johnny and several men are there to ensure security, and aboard the ship, Johnny finds a bomb with the sign, "Front toward enemy." Johnny jumps off the boat just in time as it explodes, burning all the cash, and he sees Frank standing on a hill overlooking him. On the other side, Howard is agitated enough to start throwing things around, and the Cubans are mad enough to march right into his office. The two sides argue. Howard says they have had a good partnership, but the business was one without insurance, so he refused to cover their losses. Before the brothers leave he warns them that he has more guns, but that was actually a bluff. Now willing to use all his means, no matter the cost, he tells Quentin to call the Russian. Meanwhile, Spacker asks Frank to help because the man after Joan is in her apartment. At first, he closes the door on him, but reopens it seconds later and goes to the apartment where he finds Joan and Bumpo there preparing a meal. They invite him for the meal, and after saying what they are thankful for they eat. Afterward, Spacker and Bumpo leave for dessert, and Joan tells Frank to make good memories so that he is not always only driven by the bad. He tells her he is not what she's looking for and leaves. Seeing that, Spacker and Bumpo try to cheer Joan up by making dessert and dancing to opera music. The music drowns out the fight happening in Frank's apartment as the Russian and Frank engage in a vicious fight. The fight eventually leads into the other's apartment, terrifying Joan and the others. Frank soon emerges victorious by scarring his face from hot boiling and water and tackling him but injured, and the three neighbors try to patch him up. Meanwhile, Howard's men discover the corpse of the Russian and head up. Joan and Frank hide in a secret room underground, while Spacker and Bumpo remain to deal with the men. Quentin questions the two and even tortures Spacker, pulling out all his piercings painfully, but Spacker insisted on not knowing where Frank is. Quentin finally believes him, and after leaving one of his men to report if Frank returns, he leaves. When Frank recovers he quickly kills the man, then asks Spacker why he would help him. Spacker answers because they are neighbors and family. Bumpo takes him to the hospital, while Frank prepares his arms again, much to Joan's dismay. She asks how he's any different than the Saints. Frank replies they have something to lose. Joan realizes part of Frank's idea was to be killed in battle. Again, Frank breaks into Livia's car and sets up the same trap for Quentin. Mickey, under Frank's orders, shows Howard the ticket in Livia's car at the Winston Hotel. Howard remembers that Quentin was also there at the time. He became suspicious and heads to Quentin's home. Meanwhile, as Quentin leaves his home, Frank breaks in. Howard goes in later and discovers the earring in Quentin's bed. When Quentin returns, Howard greets him at the stairs, startling the man. Howard tells him a story of how one person accuses another of cheating by breaking into their home, moving their furniture, and throwing a knife in the middle between the people involved. As he talks, he moves Quentin's furniture and throws a knife on the coffee table. Quentin claims rightly that he never took a penny from Howard, who laughs and calls him a good actor. When Quentin refuses to pick up the knife, Howard swipes him with it. Snapping about how Quentin thought of him like an idiot because Howard treated him like his brother, Howard stabs Quentin to death. When Livia returns home, she sees Howard throwing her things on the floor. He tells her he knows about her and Quentin. Upon seeing Quentin's body by the doorway, and when shown the ticket by Winston Hotel, she tells him that Quentin was gay. Howard does not believe her, only slapping her and dragging her out to the car. He reminisces about their history and her former prostitute status before they stop at a bridge, and he throws her over the side of it onto train tracks, where she is quickly run over. On the other side, Frank sneaks into Jimmy's apartment, then surprised him with a gun. After a small conversation, Frank put the gun on the table and turns around, but Jimmy took the gun and intended to kill him, but unknowing to him, Frank has already removed the bullets. Then he reveals that he suspects Jimmy was involved in his family death, but he was not sure until now. Then he gives him a bullet and tells him to die in honor at least. After that, Howard goes to his club, where he offers his men money for the one who kills Frank. Alone in his office, Johnny asks where Quentin and Livia are, but his father outright lies to him. Outside, Frank prepares himself for battle. He kills Howard's guards, then sets bombs on several cars and sneaks into the club. From upstairs, one of the men orders champagne from the small lever, and Frank sets a bomb in the bucket he sends up. When the bomb goes off, Frank rushes in, shooting anyone still left alive. He finds Johnny trapped and injured and forces him to hold onto a bomb. Then he goes out and finds Howard, telling him he killed both his sons, while we hear behind him in the building Johnny screaming as the bomb goes off. Frank shoots Howard and shows him the photos of Quentin's affair as well as Livia's other earrings. Frank explains he made the man kill his best friend and wife. Then he ties Howard by the feet to the back of a car and drives him through the parking lot, setting off the bombs he earlier planted. The fires form the shape of the skull as Howard slowly burns to death. Back at home, Frank is about to commit suicide and shoot himself when a memory of a blonde woman stops him. He decides to set himself a new path and leave. Meeting up with Joan, he tells her that she is right, a good memories could save a life. Then he leaves, after telling her he has a gift for all three of them. When Spacker is released from the hospital, they find wads of cash left for them. Standing on a bridge with his back to the setting sun, Frank swears that everyone who harms others, murderers, rapists, sadists, and psychopaths will meet him. Frank Castle was dead, and in his place stepped in the Punisher. Thanks for watching. If you liked the video, put a like and share it. Also, don't forget to subscribe for more. Have a great day.